morning, Baba Luther. How are
Good
you?
morning. Good morning, Freddie. I'm fine. How are you today?
Welcome to the Congo Square Connection, a website that you help to inspire.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be on this Zoom this morning.
Yes, you've covered so much ground in the city of New Orleans. You've held so many capacities and participated in activities since your arrival from Chicago. How do you define your work, and can you briefly tell us about some of the things that you've done?
Describe the work I do as being a cultural warrior. I think I heard this term from Kalamu Yasalam many years ago, and it really talks about artists and people in the culture who really dedicate themselves to improving a situation or researching a situation or uplifting a community. So that really struck a really chord with me. So I really look at myself as a cultural warrior, and also as a drummer. I think I've come up with a term for myself that I'm a drummer man. So I kind of utilize the drum to work with people of all ages, children and adults, and of all races and denominations, and just worldwide, to utilize the drum to get in touch with our mind, our bodies, and our soul.
And you've done so for the community, but as well as a business, because you've started a couple of groups, musical groups.
Yeah, I was part of starting a Percussion Incorporated and Bambula 2000. And those two groups were groundbreaking in New Orleans as well, because the songs that came from the groups were like songs all about, it became like many songs about Congo Square. Like a lot of the songs from the group really kind of depicted Congo Square, and it really began to build this repertoire or catalog of music about Congo Square, looking at it from a drummer and a music and dance perspective.
So you're saying that Congo Square has influenced your work, even in your business, as well as what you do with the community. You've contributed to the New Orleans community in other ways as well. I know that you were the co-chairperson of the effort to bring historical markers on the slave trade to the city of New Orleans.
Yeah, I worked with you on that project, Freddie. I know we did the markers on Esplanade that looked at the domestic slave trade, and then the markers on the riverfront are looking at the international slave trade. And I thought those were really very, very important markers that came up in New Orleans. And it really added, we continue to add more as more and more research is found. We'll find more opportunities to create more markers in the city of New Orleans and beyond. I'm looking at my notes right here. Well, we got Congo Square on the National Register of Historic Places in 1993. And in 1997, we put up the historic marker. And then, it was like a community effort, because in order to put up that marker, we partnered with the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, the House of Blues, Essence Communications, Tambourine and Fan, the New Orleans Jazz National Park, and the City of New Orleans and White Buffalo Day. So, all of our work has not just been within ourselves. We've reached out to all community organizations and movements in the city.
Yes, exactly. I know you've also worked with Ashe Cultural Arts Center on several events, one of which is the Ma'afa.
Oh, yeah. The Ashe Cultural Arts Center is a true gem to the city of New Orleans, founded by Carol B. Bell and Douglas Redd. What they began by getting that space on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard, and it's grown so much even to this date. It's like the really epicenter of New Orleans cultural practices and activities in the city. And they were always in the same vein. They were looking to work with other artists as well. So, like you say, myself, you, Mama Jamila, so many of us, we were brought into the Ashe family as well to help with things like the Ma'afa and the Holiday and the Boulevard and all the different activities that they had going on then, and in fact continue today, and it even increased exponentially to this day.
Yes, I agree. So the Ma'afa really reminds me of this Congo Square connection, because during that time we hear from people from all segments of our community, and we remember the tragedy. So for those people who are not familiar with the Ma'afa, I invite you to join us on the Saturday of the 4th of July weekend, early in the morning. Usually used to be at sunrise, but now it's a little later. Around what time now, Luther?
I know. Now it's like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Yes, but it's in Congo Square.
Yeah,
So,
and once again, Congo Square is pivotal because that's where it begins. And then after ceremonies in Congo Square, we walk through Treme and we end up at the Mississippi River. And that's really traces the path of our ancestors as well.
yes. So is there anything else you would like to add to this site, or talk about the vision that you see for this website, the Congo Square Connection, knowing that we will also have interviews with people from around the diaspora?
We continue to drum on Sundays in Congo Square, and I since like you say, in the 1980s, this is not a, I've kind of been thinking about how many people have drummed in Congo Square. I mean, when you look at it over time, from the beginning, and you add, when we picked up the mantle, I say it has to be 1 million people or more have drummed or danced or honored their ancestors in Congo Square. So it really is sacred ground. And I think another great thing to add to your website is I got all these proclamations from the city of New Orleans when we got the National Historic Register, and we put up the plaque on all of those things. So I'm gonna make all this information available to you for your website as well.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. And anything else that you can think of that would contribute to this story, because the purpose is to educate the general public and school children of all ages, K through 12th grade, as well as college level. So this is an educational endeavor. And thank you for doing that.
I'm glad you brought up children, because I taught drumming at St. Peter Claver. On Thursdays, they had like this, each of the kids at the school, they could take, they were either in the altar service, or they drummed, or they danced, or, they had different aspects to deal with their religion. And so I taught drumming for like 20 years to like 20 kids for 20 years. That's like a whole generation, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. And so now, I meet young people on, hey, Baba Luther, you taught me drumming in St. Peter Claver. And not only that, me and Mama Jamila, we've been doing the Imagination Tour in schools all over the city and in the region. So I think, drumming dance is a great way to reach young people. And we always emphasize when we work with young people that it's important for them to find their gift that's unique, like their fingerprint. And so we also encourage that with their teachers. Like, you just cannot teach these children just one way. You have to find what their gifts are and then lead them towards their gifts. Like, I think Ellis Marcellus said that the most marketable age for a musician was 19 years old, because at 19 years old, they could sign a contract. But he knew from his experiences that it takes him 10 years to train a musician. So he needs them when they're 9 years old, and that's the 4th grade. So what do we have in the 4th grade? What test do we have in our school system in the 4th grade in New Orleans? The LEAD test. That has nothing to do with finding a child's gift. If you can't pass that test, you get kept back a year. And if you can't pass it again in the 8th grade, you get kept back a year. That should not be the goal of education. It should be to find a child's gift and help them on the path to make that a reality.
I agree. You mentioned something, though. You talked about your drum lessons for children, but I would like the public to know that you also offer those to adults. There are several places where they can come, even on Sundays, bring your drum, or you have drums available for people who gather on Sundays. And many of these people are not from New Orleans. They're visitors, they're tourists who are coming to the city. And so that's an opportunity for adults to learn as well.
Exactly. And we're out there every Sunday from 3 to 6 o'clock or 3 to 7 o'clock, depending on the time of year. But like Sunday was the day from your research that I learned, that was the day that our people gathered on Congo Square, for hundreds of years. So it's so fitting that we continue that tradition on Sundays, which is the holy day.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for continuing that. That is truly a dedication to be out there every Sunday.
I like to play drums anyway. So I mean, it's like, what else? Where can drummers go to play in New Orleans? Like, well, we gave them a place to come, Congo Square on Sundays.
Yes. And not only that, but there are other musicians who play other instruments. I've seen.
We got saxophones out there, keyboards, flutes, guitars, singers, dancers. Everything is happening out there. We got vendors. It's really continuing this whole tradition that Congo Square, which is being the epicenter of our culture. And now we're doing it in the 21st century. So we're just continuing to lift up the brilliance of our people worldwide.
Excellent. Thank you so much for this interview and for helping make the connections that we know are so true about Congo Square.